Welcome back! My name's Aladino, and together with my wife Maya, we are putting on the final touches to this final leg of the refit on our Cape George Cutter 36. Last week I walked through the boat and did a bit of an inspection after the sea trial. Shall we go look what it looks like inside the chain locker now? Folds down. Oh. Overall, things fared very well, but there are some things missing that we're still trying to accomplish this time around. One thing that's missing is additional cabinetry. We just had countertops for now, so above that things went flying, so it'd be good to work on that a little bit. I'm also starting to wrap my mind around the electrical system. That is a really big priority for this winter. During the sea trial we didn't really have an electrical system per se. I did wire up the start circuit so that we could start the engine, and then we were able to borrow an old AGM battery which had close to zero capacity, but at least it gave the alternator a path for the produced power. What we used instead were solar generators. Those are lithium packs with a built-in charger, solar charger, and inverter. The electrical build is going to spread over a couple of episodes. In the beginning, I will focus more on where I house components and how to store them. For now, let's start with some practical work, and we start making a little bit of extra cabinetry in the galley. So this was the template, and now looking at it, it's just a little boxy. So I thought another idea to take away a little bit of the edge here is to make the opening in a weird shape. Who knows, maybe a little bit artistic, a little bit of modern art. It's just an idea for now. These were two little scrap pieces, leftovers. If we don't like it, it's not the end of the world, but it's fun sometimes to experiment with out-of-the-box ideas. So what I was doing in the last time lapse is called fooling around, playing around, but that's how you come up with ideas. So yeah, the shelf that you can see over here, but then I thought, why don't I make the same arrangement? These boxes that we had here still fit, arguably more fits. So it would be also a side panel with a curved opening, and then this one here with a curved opening, exactly the same, just for this space. Not easy to cut a sheet of plywood inside of a sea can, almost the size of it. But I made it. It's raining outside, hence why I'm doing it in here. So yeah, and it's also difficult to find the plywood that I usually use. So I made a couple of phone calls here, and I did manage to get Okume marine plywood. Now it is marine plywood. If it is Okume, it is a really different quality. It's astonishing, yeah, the difference. So I wouldn't put my money on it that it is Okume, but it's a good quality marine plywood. So I also am trying to find the balance here and not be the baby cakes. It doesn't always have to be the same plywood that I used in Europe. But yeah, one big difference is how light the one is that I usually use. Marine grade, you can soak it in a bucket, it lasts really long. It doesn't delaminate, but it's easy to work with because it is lighter. So the stuff that I have now is this here, which is a little darker and twice the weight at least. So it's a little overkill for a little bit of cabinetry. It's a little harder to work with because of the hardness. It splinters more. So those are all the little qualities. Because it splinters more, they have to put on a little more putty to make the sheet still consistent and to be able to sell it as marine grade quality. Because marine grade doesn't only refer to using a glue that does not delaminate with moisture. It's about how many plies it's made of and the quality of the wood, but then also that it should be void free. So it's hard to guarantee plywood with no voids, but what you do in an emergency, you put a little bit of colored putty over some areas. And now the Okume that I'm used to, I have never seen any putty. The layers are so consistent and it's made so well that there are no voids. This one does have a little bit of voids, but they are taken care of with a bit of putty. So yeah, not to make it sound like a rant, more just the world of lumber. There's so much difference to it. And if I didn't know this stuff so well, you go to a store, you say marine grade Okume, please. That's what you get. And it's a world of difference. And I'm like, what? We gotta keep going. So I close my eyes right now and I'm not trying to be picky and look for what I usually use. But if you are thinking about a project, you want to build something specific, you want to use marine grade plywood, but lighter is better for your build, or heavier is better for your build. So I'm just pointing out there's so many different qualities, so many different mahogany species as well. All right. Pieces are cut out though, so let's go dry fit and see how things fit on the boat.
It's really nice to have open access to the galley cabinets. On Magic Carpet 1, we actually removed the sliding doors from sort of the galley access, and the fiddles and just cabinet design were enough to keep things secured in place. Even when we were out sailing in rough conditions, we never actually put the doors back on and we never had anything fall out. So if we can have a similar thing going here, that would be really great. And if we need some sort of further securing of items in the future, then we could also maybe make a removable cloth a curtain or something that we can sort of affix on 4 corners to keep everything in really rough conditions, but hopefully we won't need to use that too often. I really loved watching Aladino come up with this cabinet design. At first I wasn't very sure of it because it's very unorthodox. I don't think I've seen something similar on a boat before, but it's really beautiful, and I think it does a really good job actually marrying the traditional and the modern, which we've tried to do all over this boat. The boat itself is a modern classic. It's got beautiful traditional craftsmanship, but then we also wanted to bring it into the modern age a bit with a feeling of lightness and spaciousness. We really wanted to make sure that there was parts throughout the boat where you could actually see through to the hull and give it a sense of depth and expansiveness that sometimes older boats are missing. I think the amount of white that we've used, contrasted still with the natural wood trim, goes a long way in creating that feeling of openness and spaciousness as well. And I think the gentle curvature of these galley cabinets, with everything painted and varnished to match the rest of the boat, is going to have a really special look to it. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, not too bad. And of course there will be a fiddle, about 2 inches tall. And my idea for behind the stove here is to make a pretty big bottle rack, which is olive oil, balsamic vinegar, just all condiments. As you can tell, I plan and I see and I change as I go. The full visual is not on paper before I start. Okay, now that the parts are cut out, I need to finish them nicely, so that will be a coat of epoxy to encapsulate it, and later on some paint, make it all match, and then we're gonna also add some teak trim to it. But I'll start by rounding over the edges with a router, just so that there is no sharp edges anywhere. So the cabinetry is progressing, and I'm happy to have landed on a design, and it's coming together. Now let's turn ourselves 180 degrees and look at another project. It's a bit of a self-explanatory question, but yeah, why do we want a properly installed electrical system over the Blue Eddies that we've tried now during the sea trial? Mostly that is because space on a boat is valuable. We want space that isn't used as much, like space under the quarter berth, to be used up, instead of more valuable space within the interior, where that is instead where the Blue Eddies would be parked and used. So the first step is again making some templates to reveal what components will go where and how many of them. You can see that I have some templates of those batteries in here, and that was more to determine how to put them, but now that I know that, it is time to make a permanent shelf that they can sit on. I have a bunch of battens again, that is my template material. A few considerations here are, of course, that batteries are heavy, so you do want them to be strapped down very securely, and for the shelf to be able to support the weight. So yeah, it had to be quite strong. So with those things in mind, I went ahead with a plan. And this is the easy part in an electrical build, so to speak. It's just such a quick changing world, especially now with the electric vehicle industry, where things are progressing much faster, and then the boating world is adopting things here and there, that you have to keep doing your research all the time to stay on top of it. So that is what I call the challenging part. It's just staying on top, knowing what is best and what is the latest. Is this the latest and also worth it on a boat, or it requires a lot of research, but instead just making a few templates and getting to work and building a shelf. That's the part that I'm familiar with, so that is much easier to do. All right, so here is our structural support of the battery compartment. I glued up the two battens, and this one here is the cockpit wall, so it's parallel to the center line almost. And then this is where the chart table seat is. And this one that I don't have is the curved part of the quarter berth. This will be through bolted against the one wall. This will be through bolted against the other wall. And this is just an extra brace. I have dry fitted this on the boat. It fits. So the next thing is going to be gluing it together. Thixo basically again is epoxy resin with different fillers mixed in, and you attach a nozzle to it which mixes the epoxy as you squeeze it through a caulking gun. And just to give you a broad overview, we are going to add some solar. In terms of battery chemistry, lithium showed us the advantages, and so even within that choice there's so many lithium battery manufacturers and so many ways that it can be implemented. So there, some things that I'm looking at is I would like to charge lithium safely from the alternator. So that usually requires batteries that enable communication. There is a couple of solutions out there that would enable that. The most exciting looking one for me is the new solution by Battleborn. Now, you might all be familiar with Battleborn batteries. They have been making reliable lithium iron phosphate batteries for years. And now they're out with a new battery that enables communication. It allows for communication, and that is the huge difference for allowing, for example, communication with the Wakespeed alternator, which they partnered with, and they have produced this new smart lithium technology together that enables communication, and that opens many doors in terms of ABYC requirements, which want lithium systems to be able to send out alerts before a BMS was to shut off, so those are important. And then, like I said, the communication with Wakespeed regulator, which then allows you to charge your lithium directly from the alternator, which is huge to me. The battery compartment is coming together. All right. Let's increase the light a bit. I am happy with that. It has a bit of a bow to it, but that will settle with a bit of weight. Or is it touching somewhere? That's the question. Maybe slightly in this corner, but I'm gonna leave it like this for now. Yeah, we're getting there. I'm glad that this fits pretty well on the first try, first cut. Okay. All right. That is it for now. Let's see if it's strong enough. 130 pounds, 140. Looks good. In the meantime, thank you for being here. I really appreciate you all tuning in and following along. I look forward to seeing you again next week. Big thanks to our patrons, and a really big thank you to the names now appearing on the screen for making sure that we can keep working on the boat and producing these videos about it. We'll see you all next Friday.